Okay, then for the first one, let's have a look at in the first one. The physical quantity measured by one of the following unit different from other unit is, what is it? Measuring by other unit. So all this one is measurement of energy. This one is we know that power is equals to a work done divided by time. So when you multiply by work done is in watts and this in seconds. So WS means watt seconds. That means the final result is joules work done. So it's also work done. Kilowatt hour is the measuring unit of electrical energy. It's also energy. This one is an energy. And mega electron volt is the certain prefix of electron volt itself. It's energy. Joules per second is watt. This is it. Joule up and seconds down, and joules per second is watt. That means uh, it's like it's not the energy per unit time. That means the power. So not is number two. Answer is number two. Differ from others. Electron volt is unit of power. No. Unit of energy. Unit of energy. Definitely. So if you think that is charge and potential difference volt and this is a voltage, we have an idea of like charge volt. No. Actual thing is it's a measurement of energy. Energy measured in atomic level, nuclear level. So in the nuclear level, we go for mega electron volt. In the electronic cell level, we just go for electron volts itself. Okay, guys. I think you understood it. And the very next part is unit of intensity of sound wave. Unit of intensity of sound wave is intensity. I. How to get the intensity? Intensity is what? So the power over area. Power is watt, and area is square meter. So the stuff is this one. Even though you don't know how to answer this question, don't ever worry because this is coming up in the very next lesson because of that of uh, vibrations, a very later part of vibration. So you will learn this within some 3 to 4 months, definitely. So this is a very next lesson, vibrations. So don't worry if you don't know because you can't recitate all the units. Hmm? No. Intensity. Oh my God. Yeah. You are correct. You were in good alert because this is sound intensity, not intensity level actually. They ask the sound intensity level. Yes, it is decibel. It is decibel. Yes, because not only the intensity level. Yes, intensity level means it's decibel. So decibel equation is something like this: 10 log I over I naught. So I over I naught tiki so. So finally, you will get just a number. So that is decibel. So it is not the unit of sound intensity. I just saw it like intensity. It is intensity level of sound. Intensity level is definitely decibel. Yeah, you have completely studied the table. Yeah, it's also my mistake. Huh? I just read it as intensity, not intensity level, right? Intensity level is getting by this equation. It is decibel. Somehow it is in the next lesson, very next lesson. In the equation, C is equals to K over rho. C is velocity and rho is density, units of K. How to get the unit of K? So only way is to square it up. So you get c square is equals k over rho. So k is equals to c squared rho. C is squared is m squared is minus 2 times kg m minus 3. So it is like kg m minus 1 is minus 2. The answer is fourth one. And for the very next one, which of the following is not an SI unit? Not an SI unit. What is not an SI unit? So kilogram is SI unit, meter is SI unit, ampere is SI unit. What K is? Seconds is SI unit. This K is like not Kelvin K. It is capital K. This is just some other K. So the unit is this one, not a SI unit. Is fifth one. This K is not the Kelvin K. SI unit of surface tension. Okay. Now you don't know what is surface tension, and you had a certain very big list. So of equations, if you can remember all, then you can get. But it is normally not easy. So if you don't know how to get the answer for this one or even, so no worries, right? So it is something like F equals to TL is the equation. So T is the surface constant and the Newton and meter. So the answer is Newton meter, Newtons per meter. So if you don't know how to get the answer, still don't ever worry, because this is really about very later ends of the lessons. In the very last few months of your A-level life, you will learn surface tension lesson. Until then, I don't expect anybody to remember that type of very long, huge stuff like this way. I just prepared the. Can you see this one? Can you see this one, guys? This part, the surface tension. This is the tube that I'm preparing for the 2024, guys. So I've already given you the same tube. So this thingy is just to give you an impression about how you get the equations. Actually, you don't want to remember anything, because you can't have it in like a recitation, like of those poems and verses. It is not about physics. Physics, you don't really want to do that. Once you learn the lesson, you know the equations and you know how to apply. Until then, this is just a trailer. So don't ever worry that you can't remember these things. This is not something you can remember easily. For me, personally, I can't remember. I can't remember. So now I can remember anything, because I've practiced as an A-level student. When I was doing A-level, during the first 6 months, during the mechanics lesson was going, I couldn't remember these things, because teachers gave us a very big list. I didn't ever worried about, bothered about remembering them. Once all the lessons were done, I knew all the equations. I could get any unit or any dimension. So don't ever worry. That's an advice from me. Yeah, Newtons per meter. See, Newton up, meter down. So that means Newtons per meter. See, the answer is this one. Second one. That's the same one you are talking about, Shelly. Shelly. SI units of heat is given. Heat is an energy. Remember, that's all level knowledge. If you can't do this, it's completely your mistake. So calorie is a certain way of measuring energy, but not SI. So W is what? So it's not. K is stands for Kelvin. That's a temperature. Not candela is the measuring unit of what? Light intensity. So joule is the unit of measuring energy because heat is a form of energy. You have to remember that form of energy. And in the eighth one, the following depicts the principal quantity of SI system. It should be capitalized. So SI system, principal quantity of. This is right. So following depicts the principal quantity. So this is right, but the unit, not the quantity. Newton is not at all. And second is a unit, so not a quantity. Kelvin is a unit, not a quantity. So kilogram is a quantity, SI based quantity. Answer is 3. Okay. Answer is 3. Ninth one. The SI unit of Planck's constant. Still, this one is upcoming lesson, very late end of the A-level life. You will learn something like energy is equals to HF. So you don't know this equation. This is not O-level even. So if you could do this, still I'm telling you, don't ever worry. So energy is in joule, and this one is per second. The frequency when it comes up, joule JS is the unit. So if you can't remember, because it's not your fault, you are still blessed. If you don't understand this once I explain it, you are not blessed at all. So if you couldn't do it alone, no problem. You don't know anything about this one. Okay, 10. Which of the following differs from when when only the units are considered? Rotational kinetic energy, mechanical potential. Which of the following differs from others when only the units are considered? Rotational kinetic energy, mechanical potential energy, internal energy, work, and power. All energy, work, anything is similar. Power is a different one. Answer number 5. Electron volt is, again, as Chatuni said, yes, Chatuni, you are correct, because the same question is repeating again. Not a charge, not a potential, not a current, not electric intensity. Units of energy, yes. Answer is 4. So SI units of measure the activity of radioactive source. It is becquerel. So you still don't know. This is the unit of radioactivity lesson. It's also very late end of the A-level life. So don't ever worry about these things. So lamai ප්‍රශ්න ටිකට මම දෙනවා මේ ප්‍රශ්න 5ක් තියෙනවා. There are 5 questions. You will have only like 10 minutes to do these 5 questions. These are not easy, not even really hard as well. Just try. So for this one, having a mass of m2, and the friction between these two surfaces is mu, and the m2 mass is going moving downward, and m3 mass is just moving upward, because no other force than T1 and T2. So we have to understand what T1 is bigger than of T2, the tension. So we will get the T2. So for this one, the radius of reaction force of R upward, and M2G is downward. So the acceleration is purely produced by this one. So for the first one, M1G minus T1 equals M1A, and for the other one, uh, for this one, T2 minus M3G is equals M3A, number 2, number 1, and for this one, T1 minus T2 is equals what? T1 minus T2 minus, not only that, mu M2G is equals M2A, equation number 3. It's a very big equation 3. So now you just can yeah, get this thing, T1 minus T2 thingy. So when you add these two things together, you can get T1 from this one. T1 is going to be M1A, sorry, M1G minus M1A, number 1, and T2 is equals M3A yeah, T2 is M3 uh, M3A plus M3G. So I'm going to substitute these two to here. It's going to be a very long thing now. M1G minus M1A minus M3G minus M3A equals, sorry, minus mu M2G equals M2A. So now we have to get the A terms together. It's going to be a very chaotic one. M3A so A is common acceleration for anything. M1G minus M3G minus mu M2J divided by M2 plus M3 plus M1, and G is common. So wait, මට මේක G කියන common ගන්න පුළුවන්. G එළියට දා ගන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට මෙහෙම එකකට තියෙන්නේ කොයි එකද? මේක විතරයි නේ. Answer number 4. Answer number 4 is the answer. එන දිග solution එකක් තියෙන එකක් ඕක සාමාන්‍යයෙන් මෙච්චරටම දිගට solution යන එකක් නම් සාමාන්‍යයෙන් අපිට ඉන්නේ නැහැ. නමුත් මේක හොඳයි questions ටික තේරුම් ගන්න. right? මේ වගේ එකක් හොඳයි question එකක් approach කරන විදිය හොඳට තේරුම් ගන්න. This is really good for someone to understand how to approach to a question. ටිකල් එකක් වගේ වුණා. හරි. මේ උත්තරේ හරියටම ගත්ත කවුරු හරි ඉන්නවද? Let me check others answers. Oh yeah. That guy is a genius. He has taken the answer for the first one correctly. Usman Marwa. Usman අරගෙන. තව කාටද ඔක හරි ගියේ? හරි කියන්නේ අනාවට නෙයි. හදලා. හදුවද ඔක හරියට? නෑ කනාසොත් හරියන්නේ. කනාසොත් හරියන්නේ. I don't accept any kanasot. So ඒක exam එකේ තියෙන luck by chance, but for this condition if you have get the answer correctly මේ විදිහට හරියටම substitute කරලා කවුද ගත්තේ answer එක? උස්මාන් මට උත්තර වෙලාසෙන් කියුවා උස්මාන්ගේ හරි. others ලියාගන්නකො ලියාගන්න මම මේ time එක දීලා තියෙන්නේ. This is a very long answered question. So normally you don't get this type of extremely long case of questions. The network connection නම් මාර්ගයක් වෙනවා. ළමයි කවුරු හරි මේක හරියට ගත්ත කවුරුත් ඉන්නවද? ඇතිනේ ටයිම් දුන්නා ලියාගන්න. ඇතිද? තව ඕනේද? ළමයි කියන්නේ ලියාගෙන ඉවරයිද? And don't worry, I am just submitting you the board drawings and board writings even and yet on the class. So don't need to really worry about it. That's a really big one. Let's go for the 14th one. 3 blocks. M1, M2, M3 are sliding at a constant velocity across a rough surface as shown in the diagram above. The coefficient of kinetic friction between each block is the surface is mu. What would be the force on M1 on M2 and M1 on M2? So you are providing a force of F throughout the system. So M3 connection is unstable equivalent. And the force of F. 3 blocks. M1, M2, and M3 are sliding a constant velocity. Constant velocity means no acceleration. No such an acceleration. So coefficient of friction between each block is mu. What will be the force on M1 on M2? So there is no remarkable force. So the for M2, you have to provide the forces on M1 and M2 together. So there will be a certain resistive force that of frictional force created by M2, and you have to provide a certain force that to balance that one, and so the frictional force generated by this one together, you have to provide to maintain throughout. You are actually pushing these two together. So the frictional force, total frictional force is going to be from these two towards here, going to be M3 mu M3G plus mu M2G are the resistive force created by this. This one has to provide the same similar resistive force on this one. So the force on that one is nothing other than this one, M2, M3 mu G. So M2 plus M3 common, and mu you can take out, and this one can be taken out. You don't want to worry about the force applied to here because there is no acceleration. If there is an acceleration, you have to consider this one too. Now you don't want to, because these two only needs some certain force to balance the friction created by these two. Frictional force is done by this one and this one together. That means mu M3G and mu M2G together. So it is like M2 plus M3 mu G. Answer is the answer number 1. මාව මේ කැඩි කැඩි ඇහෙනවද ළමයි? එහෙම සිද්ධියක් තියෙනවද? ළමයි? guys? මාව lag වෙනවද? Am I lagging? Because my network is also telling me that your connection is unstable. Huh? මම දන්නේ ඔලපසත් මොකද්ද මේ
කැටි කැටි ඇහෙන්නේ.
මම දන්නේ මොකද්ද මේ උනේ කියලා මං කොල්ලේ. ඔක්කොම මුගලක් වෙලා තියෙනවා.
වෙලාවකට හැබැයි දැන් ටිකක් අවුලක් නැහැ.
හරි. මේක ගත්ත විදිය තේරුන්නේ නැද්ද? මේ question එකට. 14th එක ගත්ත විදිය තේරුන්නේ නැද්ද? ළමයි දැක්කලා කියන්න. 14th එක ගත්ත විදිය තේරුන්නේ නැද්ද? කැඩි කැඩි ඇහුණා තේරුණාද නැද්ද? ඔව් ගියාලා වුණා වුණ නැත්තම් නෑ.
පැහැදිලි මදිද?
ආපහු කියලා දෙන්න ඕනද? තේරුණාද?
පැහැදිලි මදිද?
හරි. තවම ලැග් වෙනවද?
කියලා දෙන්නද?
තවම ලැග් වෙනවද?
දැන් නැද?
මෙන්න මෙහෙම කෝච්චි පෙට්ටි තුනක් තියෙනවා. M3 M2 M1 නේ. 3 2 M1. මම මෙන්න මේ දෙන්නා විතරක් වෙනවාද? මුන් දෙන්නා මෙහෙට යවන්න ෆෝස් එකක් ඕනේ. F dash කියලා ගන්න. මෙයාගෙන් මෙහෙට ෆ්‍රික්ෂන් එකක් එනවා. මෙයාගෙන් මෙහෙට ෆ්‍රික්ෂන් එකක් එනවා. ඒ ෆ්‍රික්ෂන් දෙක බැලන්ස් කරොත් නේද යුනිෆෝම් වෙලොසිටි එක කියන්නේ. This is moving in the uniform velocity. Uniform velocity means forces are in balance. According to Newton's first law of motion, it says, unless an external and unbalanced force is applying on an object, the object remains stationary or moving at a constant velocity. That's the statement. So the frictional force is created by both the objects are like F1 plus, sorry, F3 3 plus F2. So that's the total friction created by these two. It's like total friction is the force that you have tried to maintain. So if you can just balance the friction by providing some certain force of F dash from M1 on M2, so it is like mu M3G plus mu M2G. So you can get the things resultant out M2 plus M3 and mu G is the answer. There is only answer. It is the first one. Ahunada. Already ahuna boys.
అవునా సార్
15. A child has a toy tied to an string and whirls the toy at a constant speed in horizontal circular path of radius r. The toy completes each revolution of its motion in a periodic time of t. What is the magnitude of the acceleration of the toy? Periodic time of t. So the radius of r. So it is like very simple to find out the magnitude of the acceleration. This is talking about the AC, centripetal force. R omega squared is the equation you can easily apply. Omega, how to find out omega? Omega, to find out the omega, there is only one way. We know omega is equals to pi over capital T. So you can substitute it to here. So the AC acceleration is going to be R capital. So the 4 pi square, because 2 pi when you omega square, getting, and that's going to be t to the power 2. So is there any answer? Yeah, there is only one answer. Fifth one, 4 pi squared r and t to the power 2. Answer is question for that one. Question number 15. Answer is 5. I think you guys understood it. I don't know whether you understood it or not. ළමයි ඒක තේරුණාද නැත්නම් නෑ කියන්න ප්‍රශ්නයක් නෑ තේරුම් නැත්නම් තේරුණාද නැද්ද ටක් ගාලා කියන්න ඔව් නැත්නම් නෑ කියන්නකෝ කියවලා මම කියවලා
ఏమన్నా
අනින් හදාගන්න පුළුවන් වුණාද බැරි වුණාද කියලා නෙමෙයි මම කිව්වට පස්සේ තේරුණා
හරි
හරිද නේ ළමයි
ఏమన్నా సార్
so
කතා
guys
කරන්න හෙන්නද
එනවා දැන් එනවා සාජන් so a ball of mass
Yeah.
m but fastened to a string, the ball swings at a constant speed in a vertical circle with radius r. The other end of the string is held fixed, neglecting air resistance. What is the difference between strings tension at bottom of the circle and top of the circle? I think Usman may आगे में circular motion संबंध लोगों को තියෙනවා වගේනේ. Usman වගේ answer එක වැරදි මම check කරලා බලන්න. Usman ඔයාලා ඉන්නවද නැත්නම් ඇහෙනවද මම? Usman? कौन Usman? Usman Boltzmann වෙලා දන්නේ නැහැ. අයියෝ. So am I still having that connection issue, man? No. So top of the circle. So this is a really good question because mass is simple m and the radius is capital R and the constant speed at the swing and circle letter R and the end of this is had fixed air resistance. What is the difference in the strings tension at bottom and top of the circle? It's a really good question. Extremely good guess. So if the stuff is just moving at here with a mass of simple m and the radius r having a velocity of just a v, now it reaches to certain vertical condition like up here, and the other one is the bottom here. The same mass, simple m, movement velocity of v, and so here again same mass is moving at velocity of v here, and the mg is downward acting here. Mg is acting downwards. Mg is acting downwards, and the tension is upward now. Tension is downward now. So this is really important to know. When you consider the centripetal force is always towards the center. It is downward now. Centripetal force is always towards the center. It's here, and the centripetal force is just here. So there is a big problem because these two having two tensions. I will mark it like tension T1, T and T2. They are not the same similar tension, and this is like T3. You don't want to consider about this one. I just drew it for the top. Centripetal force is just downwards, and the tension is also downward, and the mg is also going to downwards here. Okay, we know one thing: the centripetal force is saying it's to base downward, but the real force is upward. So Fc is the only thing that is moving upward. So let cycle tension plus mg is downward here. So they ask the tension. Tension is going to be Fc minus mg. At the top, bottom, it is like Fc is always away. So tension is the only force acting there. T2 is mg plus Fc. What does it ask? The difference between the spring's tension at the bottom of the circle and the top of the circle. Okay. This is T1. Now you can see the tension. T1 is a lesser friction because tension because centripetal force subtracted by the weight. Here centripetal force and this one together is constant velocity, so the centripetal force factor is going to be cancelled off. So we have to get the difference of the tension delta T. We have to subtract the bigger one from smaller one, T2 minus T1. So it is the delta T thingy is going to be T2 is mg plus Fc minus Fc minus and minus is going to be plus mg. Fc and Fc cancel off. The difference in the tension is 2 mg. The answer is 2 mg. I think you guys understood it somewhere. If you don't understand, you have to watch this again. Watch this part again. So I'm not going to explain you that again. So if you don't understand, watch it again 2 or 3 times more, then you will understand. This is really important part to know. I will add more lessons in future. So going to describe. So first, it's like a homework. Just watch it 1 or 2 times. 5 meter uniform plank of mass, 100 kilogram is rested on the top of the building with 2 meters extended. 2 meters extended over the bridge, edge of the Ashon and the far, how far 50 kilogram person venture past the edge of the building on the plank before the plank just begin to tip කියන්නේ නිහාර ටික්ම තමයි. මතක තියාගන්න මෙයාගේ 100 kilogram නේ මේක 5 කියන්නේ it is going to apply 100 g downward. The person has a mass of certain. If he can maximally work up to a certain distance of x, it's going to be 50 g from here. One thing we just know is lying on the middle point, that is 2.5. It's like this is the pivot point. You have to understand where is the pivot going to be. It's 0.5. We know that x is the only unknown thing we don't know. So really simple. The anti-clockwise moment should be equal to the clockwise moment. So the anti-clockwise moment is 100 g times 0.5 is equals 50 g times, we don't know the distance from the pivot point, just x, don't apply to, and how far the SPX he can maximally move. So let's see, g and g cancels off, and 50 is like 2. 2 times 0.1 is 1. X is he can move 1 meter towards the right hand side. The answer is number 2. I think you guys also understood this one. Okay, the first 5 lessons are done in the task. Now go for the other part. So these are actually really accelerating questions, but I leave these 3 questions for you to do at home, right? I'm not going to explain any of these. Try these things at home. I'll add it here. I'm not going to explain. So try. If you can't, just ask me. I'm there to help you at any time. Firstly, try. These 3 questions are really good and very important. So you can do anything because all 3 questions are in your scope. You have already done. So let's take can't you hear me? Guys, can't you hear me? Ma ඇහෙන්නේ නැද්ද ළමයි? ළමයිනේ මාව ඇහෙන්නේ නැද්ද? Guys, don't you hear me? ළමයි මාව ඇහෙන්නේ නැද්ද? ළමයි මාව ඇහෙන්නේ නැති ප්‍රශ්නයක් වුණාද මොකක් හරි? ළමයි
ඇහුණාද ටෙලිගෙන්?
ඒ මම කිව්වේ මෙන්න මේ ගණන් තුන ගෙදරදී try කරන්න කියලා මෙතනදී දැන් කරන්න එපා කියලා. තේරුණාද? මොකද ඔක කරන්න ටයිම් එකක් තියලා මම ඩිස්ක්‍රයිබ් කරන්නත් ඕනේ. කරගන්න බැරි වුණොත් මගෙන් අහන්න මම කියලා දෙන්නම්. තේරුණාද මම මේ කියන එක? ඇහෙනවද මම කියන දේ? තවම කැඩි කැඩිද ඇහෙන්නේ? හරි.
එහෙනම් සර්
හරි. එහෙනම් දැන් අපි පොඩි ඉන්ටර්වල් එකක් ගමු නේ මට වෙනවා.
මම දැන් අවුලන්නේ.
මට ඉන්ටර්වල් එකක් ගමු. ඉන්ටර්වල් එක ගන්න ඕනේ SS ටික කරමු. වෙලාව කීයද ළමයි දැන් මම මේක බලාගත්තා කියන්නේ. What is the time is it now?
10යි 16යි.
Okay, guys, let's do the first essay question. These essays, I'll give you somewhere like 12 minutes for this one because this is not a very big question, huge one. So only 12 minutes allowed, nothing more. So it's here like, so it's moving in a certain vertical axis, right? Along the y-axis. So not along the x-axis. So like this type of motion. So ball move when the ball at is point P, the string is horizontal. At Q, it's bottom, and the circle and the at Z it is the top of the circle. Air resistance is negligible. Express all algebraic answers in terms of given quantities and fundamental constants. So you may use pi and those type of constants. On the figure below, draw and label all the forces acting on the point P and Q respectively. So the for P is like mg downwards and fc here, and the tension is into the page is like that. So this is how it is. So for here, the tension is still there, mg is there, and the centripetal force fc is going to be also marked on there. Derive an expression for v minimum. Minimum speed of the ball can have point z without leaving the circular path. Okay. Guys, see this here without leaving the circular path. That means minimum speed. You need the minimum speed to maintain. Imagine, so the stuff is moving at here with a minimum. If you drop it more than the minimum, less than the minimum speed, so the FC is going to be here and the mg is downward and the tension is also going to be downward. So you know one thing, fc is equals to mg plus tension. So one time, so when the tension is going to be zero, when the tension is going to be zero, that is the minimum thing you can have. So tension is what, sorry, fc minus mg. So at one time, if the fc drops smaller than mg, so it's going to be, tension is going to be smaller than zero. That means a negative value. So the maximum value, so the minimum value for the tension is zero. When the tension is zero, fc and minus mg equals to zero. So that means fc is equals to mg. So fc, we know that one thing, the minimum velocity. mv square over r is the centripetal force, and the mg is here. So minimum velocity is going to be, v minimum is square root of rg. This is the minimum velocity. So you may apply the minimum velocity equation here. The okay, is only in the fundamental terms. So the r and g already obtained. It's an expressive thingy. Can you understand this? Or do I have to explain that again and again? Just tell me. Just let me know, guys. Tell me. Do you need me more help?
මොකද සර්?
මේක අපවපාරක් කියලා දෙන්න ඕනේද? තේරුණාද?
ඒක
කතා කරලා කියන්න ළමයි.
තේරුණාද?
ඕකටත් මම ඉතින් කියන්න. අපෝ එකපාරක්.
හරි හරි මම ඔයාලට කියලා දෙන්න. එකපාරක් කියලා. When you're moving at this point, it has the radius of r, and the mg is just going to apply downwards, and the tension of the string is also downwards at here, and the only thing is outward is centripetal force, because centripetal force is marked inwards, yes, but the actual force is outwards. So Fc is equals to mg plus t. So when there is a certain Fc is completely depending on with the speed, v, velocity. When the velocity increases, the c increases. So at one time, when the c drops and drops and drops, at one time, the downward force and the Fc going to be equals to each other. So at that time, the tension going to be 0. When you have higher velocity, so mg and Fc going to be greater than of mg. So in that case, what happens? Greater than of mg. When the Fc is greater than of mg, it's going to be a positive value. When you have just balance Fc and mg, there is no tension here. Just balance. Mg being just balance. So tension equation, I can get it like Fc minus mg. So the minimum value you need to have Fc is to maintain this tension as 0. When tension is 0, Fc minus mg. So Fc going to be equals to mg. So Fc is nothing other than mv square over r minimum. Mg, m and m cuts off. V is equals to r simple g square root v minimum. If you drop the speed lower than that, it will not stay in the circular path, it will just fell down. If you maintain this speed, after that, it's going to be smoothly maintaining the curve in a circular path. කොච්චර තමයි ඉතින් මට ඔගේ කියලා දෙන්න පුළුවන්. හරි නේද? තේරුණාද? එහෙනම් ආයෙත් දාන්න බෑ. Suppose that string waves at the distance when passing the point P. Where is the point P? Okay. Describe the motion of the ball immediately after the string waves. Right. මේ වෙලාවේදී මොකද වෙන්නේ? යාගේ tangential velocity. This is where the tangential velocity is. It's going to move downwards. So at this point, directly moving downwards, so it will just move downwards like the motion underground. Right at P, if it was at this point, it would be a certain projectile. At here also going to be a projectile. This is going to be just a motion under gravity. හරි නේද ළමයි? මේක පිටලා කියලා දෙන්න දෙන්නේ. දැන් එහෙම බලයන් ඩොට් වෙනවා. direction එක downward. motion under gravity. එච්චරයි. හරි නේ?
හරි
ඔව්.
හරි කියලා
කියන්න. ආ?
හරි කියලා කිව්වේ
හරි. එහෙනම් අපි next question එකට යමු. මේ ඩයග්‍රෑම් එක මගේ අතින් වැරදිලා කැපිලා ආවේ. මේක ඕනේ නැහැ. question number 2 විතරක් කරන්න ඒකටත් දෙන්නම් අර විදිහටම විනාඩි 12ක් විතර. ඊට වඩා දෙන්නේ නැහැ.